This is the Page Publishing Book Club. How you doing? I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Precious Ingram is a social worker in Florida. She counsels kids who've been abandoned and neglected, something she knows all too well, and shares in her book entitled The Butterfly Who Survived.
It's about my life, and it takes you from when I was young, from a child all the way up to my adulthood. And through the process, I'm taking you through my inner thoughts, my lack of confidence, my low self-esteem, doubts, fears that I was going through, my addictions to pain, attraction to unhealthy love, disappointments, my loneliness, and heartbreaks. And I just walk you through my life from child, like I said, from my childhood all the way up into my adulthood as I break the cocoon stage of that caterpillar to come into a butterfly.
Well, were you able to work a lot of this out through your education? I mean, you became someone who helps people going through exactly what you went through, right?
Yes, but it wasn't my education. I would say it was my faith that got me through. It wasn't kind of, it got me through it. It helped me to survive, and to redeem myself as the person that God had called me to be.
Like, when did you decide I've got to write this down?
I started writing it down 5 years ago. I just wanted to write a book about my life, and I was talking to a friend about different goals, using the analogy of the caterpillar to the butterfly of my life. And it was like, it sounds really good. You should, tell people about it and, begin to write down your thoughts and stuff. And that's what kind of inspired me to just go ahead and just write down all my thoughts. And then I just turned it into a book.
So it's got to feel great to have that book out there.
Yes, it does.
And are you using it when you're working with kids?
Yes, I do. To kind of let them know that no matter what they're going through, no matter what hand life deals them, and sometimes the hand we're dealt is not always fair, but to use what they got and know that no matter what they go through, that they can pull through anything. Just to want to encourage, inspire, and uplift people.
Are you able to do book signings?
Yes, I have been doing book signings. I use the social media platform to put it out there. Actually, the cover and the title of the book really draws people in, so they want to know more about it. So I've been just doing vendor events and talking to younger people as well as adults and just, encouraging them that, they can survive. A lot of people feel like when they go through something is that's the end, but at the book signings, I let them know that they're a survivor. There has been some local book vendors here in the area. There has been like different pop-up shops or different motivational workshops that has been being held.
Oh, I would think you'd be great at a motivational workshop.
Yes. I plan on keep writing. This book was just to kind of lay the foundation. I don't go like really deep into it, but the next books that I plan on writing will go deeper and, kind of break some chains to help other people.
All right, Precious. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Michelle Tatka owns a real estate company in Arizona, but it was her nonprofit called The Healing House for Children that inspired her to publish her first book entitled #Love Just Love.
So the book is actually my life dissected, my shares of heartbreak and loss, mistakes and regrets, failed marriages, life challenges, but I still wake up every day thinking, who can I love, who can I help, who can I heal? So the story, really it was a dysfunctional childhood as far as being raised by a father at a time that was not. Divorce was not nearly as prevalent as it is now, and the fathers were certainly not raising children. So it's maybe a less than ideal childhood, and animals probably were my greatest source of healing, really got me through my darkest times. And I think writing and journaling also was a big source of comfort for me. And just watching, growing up very undisciplined, unsupervised, my father was an incredible man, but he was always working. So we were kind of, back in those days, the term latchkey kids at a very young age. I actually have a twin brother, but I've always felt I was years older than him, so I was kind of his caretaker. And, moved out of the house 18, right out of high school with what would be ultimately my first husband. And there would be a couple more to follow. I'm on husband number 4, but I think I got it right this time. But it's really just talking about living that kind of a life, but always trying to give my best each and every day. Even in my worst circumstances, it just always felt like the right thing to do, was live a life of love. Anything else never felt right for me. To be angry or be vindictive, I don't feel that it's our natural or intended state. And it was really just within the last couple of years that I actually started to embrace this heart where, sometimes I kind of cursed it, if you will, where I thought, gosh, I was always crying, whether it's tears of joy. I mean, it could just be a beautiful sunset or water. It always has me very emotional. I'm a big hiker here in Arizona. So I spend a lot of time running mountains whenever I can. So I think I see a lot of beauty in the world, but I also do, I think, maybe feel pain on a deeper level as well. Animals abuse children, being abused or neglected. Sometimes you can't eat on certain days because of something you might have read or seen. But I've actually I appreciate this heart now, and I think it's served me so well with where I'm at in my life today, as far as waking up with a heart full of peace and of gratitude. So I'm truly grateful for having the heart that I follow around for the past 50 years.
You wrote this book to raise money for a children's project that you're doing.
Yes, so I started a healing house for children. It's actually Arizona Healing House for Children, and it is really healing the inner beings of children that have been the victims of abuse or neglect. It's really just kind of helping to guide them into leading the most productive, prosperous, and drug-free lives. So animal therapy plays a huge part in that healing. Sports therapy to help build character and, even put them down paths of scholarship and education. So it's really my intent to really get this nonprofit up and running so we can begin this healing. That's what inspired me to write a book.
Well, I can't think of a better reason to write a book than to give back to kids. Thanks, Michelle. Shane Liston is the owner of 2 sober living facilities in California and the operator of a third. He also belongs to the nonprofit SOARR, or Society of Addiction Recovery Residences, which is what his book is all about. It's entitled Creatures of Habit, A User's Guide to Recovery.
I wrote the book because I was in a place in my life where I was just so appreciative of how my higher power, how God and recovery and the tools that I've learned completely transformed my life. I mean, I was the stereotype junkie on the street and shooting up dope all day long. And I did that for 20 years. And in 2008, I had a pretty significant awakening. I had an overdose and they rushed me to Mercy Hospital, and I had a pretty significant event in the emergency room. And then I kind of slipped into a coma for a couple of days. That was February 17th of 2008. And then February 19th, 2008, I came out of my coma, and that's kind of where my journey began. So anyway, a couple of years ago, I just started thinking, I'm like, there's got to be a way that I can reach more people, even more people than what I'm reaching now. And I wanted also to, in my book, it does talk a little bit about my struggles in the beginning when I was younger and kind of what led up to my 20-year run of drug use and the things that I never dealt with the abuse in the family and stuff like that. And I know my story is not unique, not by far, but I know there's a lot of people like myself that internalize that, don't reach out, don't talk about it, never heal from it. And so that's another reason why I wrote the book, because I wanted to reach more people and let them know that they're not alone, that I understand and that there's a way through this. So I'm going to start buying massive amounts of books, and then I'm going to start providing them at all the treatments, all my providers. And I have providers. I have treatment centers all across the country that utilize me.
That's amazing that you were able to turn your life around like that. How come not everybody can do that?
Well, addiction it's an attack of the brain. It's a physical, spiritual, and mental disorder. And so what it basically does is it attacks the midbrain. The midbrain thinks about, it's the fight or flight. Sex, fight or flight, food, all the essentials that keep you alive. Well, when you start getting heavily into that whole addiction thing and that starts becoming a routine, that gets imprinted on that midbrain. And I don't think anybody could give you a legit, solid answer that would make sense, because most of us sit around scratching our head like, why did I keep doing that over and over and over?
Yeah.
But the struggle is real. It's very real.
No, it's like something takes, it's almost like you're possessed.
That's a good way. That's a good analogy. It almost is like we're possessed because it makes no sense. Why would I make a decision knowing the outcome? Why do I continue to make that same decision knowing that I'm going to end up literally destroying my life? And yet here I go again.
Right. And anybody who knows addiction on any level, I think, knows that. Even if it's cigarettes, like you're at the store buying the pack of cigarettes, chastising yourself for smoking again. That's addiction.
Yes.
And I guess for someone like yourself, it's that times 100, 1,000.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy. And that, cigarettes was the last battle that I finally overcame. I stopped smoking. It's been a year. January was a full year. And I do vape once in a while, but yeah, that was the next plan of attack was the cigarettes. And I finally got rid of those too.
Well, good for you. Well, you've got a great message, Shane. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And good luck getting the word out there.
I appreciate it.
Irene Hayes was divorced in the 70s after 4 years of mental abuse by her husband, a doctor from Canada. She says he married her to become a U.S. citizen so he could become a millionaire by the time he was 40. Irene wrote her book entitled When the Doctor is Bad, He is Very Bad, after her 2 children tried to come back into her life years after her husband took them away.
It was unbearable, just the treatment that I was receiving, he was just couldn't take it,
So you went to see a lawyer to try to get a divorce?
Yes, and he decided, well, you divorce me and you will get nothing. You'll pay for this. And, he had the wherewithal to do it. He was buying up all this real estate, and he wanted in here because he could get rich in medicine. And he couldn't do it in Canada because they're all on socialized medicine.
So at the time, there was no such thing as no fault, where you split everything down the middle.
This is when these new laws came into play, and there was no fault. But he hid all of the assets. He bought all of this property in California in his name. He wanted me to work, but then he took me to court and said I was never in the home. And I'm going to court and spending money I needed for the kids and myself. And every time I went to court, I was beaten up by his attorneys. And I didn't have the money to hire an assertive attorney. I didn't know how to pick one. And the one that I did pick initially is the one who did the most damage to me. My own attorney turned and worked for him. So I didn't know I didn't have to sign the papers I signed. And when they put me under a lot of stress, I would just sign these papers and didn't know what I was signing because I couldn't take the stress of it. Finally, I had no help at all with these children, and I was totally dependent on babysitters. And so finally I lost the last really good job I had, and I had to stay home just to potty train my own kids. He was demanding that the house be sold. He ended up with both kids, and I was supposed to get visitation every other weekend. And once he got to Texas, I couldn't see them in Texas because I didn't have the money to go down there. And I saw them just a handful of times. I was able to speak to them on the phone, but they were brainwashed by his mother, who's a psychiatrist, and his father. They all moved down there just to help him raise the kids. When the kids grew up, they're in their 40s, they came back and they've been told they're like their father, to take everything away from me. They came here to take the house I'm living in away from me. I've remarried, and my husband and I have bought this house together, and we live in it.
And they came to try to claim it?
Yes, they want this. They feel that they're entitled to it.
But they can't do that, right?
I cannot trust my own kids.
So it was them trying to take this house away from you that made you write this book?
Yes.
But I would think that you have the law on your side at this point. Your kids can't take your house.
Oh, at this point, of course, they can't take it right now, no. But I mean, I'm getting up there in age, and if they declare me incompetent or whatever, they sue. They sue anybody they want to sue to get money.
Okay,
These
so as it stands now, you wrote this book to get your side of the story out.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I did.
All right, Irene, thank you. I hope you get the justice you deserve. We have to take a short break, but we'll be back right after this.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
We're back on the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Mimi Castleberry was 13 when she decided, you know what? Reading isn't so bad. And as time went on, she decided she wanted to write children's books. She's completed more than a dozen and has released the first of many to come, entitled Carter's Snow Day.
Carter's Snow Day was written on a whim, but I've enjoyed it. Carter is my grandson, and his father in the book is my son, Cody, and the characters in the book look just like my family. Carter's Snow Day is about a little boy who is sympathetic and empathetic to the forest animals. So it snows, and it snowed so hard that the animals' breakfast, their food, is basically buried underneath all the snow, and he's very sad because he has breakfast and the animals can't find theirs. So Carter and his dad find a way to make the animals breakfast so that they can keep going throughout the snow. They make breakfast for the animals out of fruits and vegetables and grains and bird seeds, and they go and hang them on all the trees and bushes, and then they go back to Carter's room, to his window seat, which is my very favorite place in the house, is the window seat, because you can look out and just see a multitude of things from the world from any window seat. It just makes you feel comfortable. But they step back and they go and sit down at the window seat and watch all the animals that are happily now eating their breakfast. And it's all about how good they feel because they were able to help someone else's life be a little bit better for a day.
That's a beautiful message.
Thank you.
Right? I mean, that's the best way to feel good about yourself. Do something for somebody else.
Exactly. It's all about paying it forward. So whether it's going through a checkout line and paying for somebody's breakfast, or helping somebody with their cart across the street, or even taking a cart back into a shopping center to make somebody else's life easier and getting one, that's what it's all about.
How are you getting the word out about this?
A couple of weeks ago, I got to go into a school here in Merritt Island for the first time and read my book to several kindergarten and first grade classes. And through that, students have been able to purchase the book and send it back to me to have it signed for them.
What a great idea.
Yeah, I was so excited. I get out of it that they really love the recipes in the back, which tell about how to make snow cream, how to string the fruits and vegetables for the animals. So they're really enjoying putting all of that together.
And now you have how many more books to publish?
Oh, I have 14 written. and I'm working on more every day.
You go, Mimi. We'll talk to you again. Lisa Dunn runs a daycare center in eastern Montana where her husband, a short and stocky kind of guy, thought it would be fun to play Santa every year. This inspired an idea for a Santa book that led Lisa to publish 2 books, including The Bestest Day. All right, Lisa, explain this.
So over the years, we've had to come up with, how are we going to tell our daycare kids he's not the real Santa? So he is known as Uncle Santa. And so we've come up with this, how does he become Uncle Santa thing, and perfected it over the years. So Santa Claus sends him the magic hot chocolate, and he drinks the magic hot chocolate, and his hair magically turns white, and so he's Santa's helper for the season. And about a year and a half ago, I said to one of my daycare parents, oh my goodness sakes, this would be an awesome story. This would be a good children's book. And so I just decided to write it. And so in my research to figure out, how am I going to write and publish a children's book? I know nothing about this. And I ordered some books on how do you publish a children's book? And on the back of one of those books was a website. You could take a writing class. So I took the writing class and I answered all the questions while the kids were sleeping. And then it got down to the last question where I had to write a short story. And the kids are starting to wake up. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to finish this. I'm asking the kids questions on what's fun outside, what do you guys do? Anyway, between the kids and me, we came out with a really cute story about a mom and her 2 girls playing outside in the snow. And I submitted it for this writing course. And the class is about $1,500. So I'm like, well, I'm going to see if I can't write this without taking the writing class. I went to go research publishing companies, and when I Googled it, Page Publishing was the very first thing that popped up. Everybody was really wonderful, and the guy that I talked to said, submit it, because I want to see what your writing style's like. And you guys accepted it, so that was the first book, and I wasn't going to publish that one. And so I talked to my husband, and he said, publish both.
So this is the bestest day ever.
That is about a mom and her 2 little girls who go outside and play in the snow. That's basically what it's about. They talk about snow and the first day of Christmas, and snowflakes are all very unique. They make snow angels. They make a snowman and what you would use to decorate the snowman. And then when they come in, it ends with the mom and the 2 girls sitting in front of the fireplace, drinking hot chocolate, and the little girl says, this was the bestest day ever. So to promote the book, I have been using social media. Our local library down here did a book signing and a reading for me with both my books. And I have been to vendor shows. I have been to some of the schools. Yep, it's a work in process, but I'm trying to reach as many people as I can. For me, the Uncle Santa books, I'm publishing another one this year. My goal is to get 10 to 15 out there. It's not just one book that I'm going to publish, and the Uncle Santa series is going to be one every year, and I'm looking for the Uncle Santa to be a household name.
All right, Lisa, thank you. The adventures of Brody Curtis continue in Curtis Corruption, the 3rd book in a series written by Benjamin Sherman based on his childhood in Brooklyn and the Jersey suburbs. Sherman was inspired by Richard Price, who's written a number of books and screenplays, including The Outsiders. But we won't call this an autobiography, right?
I wouldn't say it's an autobiography. It's more a conglomerate of different experiences I've either observed or read about. And then I used my own understanding as the setting. Brick City Blues is the first of the 3. I was inspired to write Car 549 because of Brick City Blues. And then Curtis Corruption, I basically just wanted to give back to the readers. But I guess the inspiration came when I finally met Richard Price in person and listened to him speak. I found out he and I actually had some regrets from a past life that we could talk about, and an interest in urban adventures. So I came home after meeting him that day and tried to bang out what I could of Brick City Blues. And before I knew it, I had a book. I mean, there were observations I made growing up in Brooklyn, and then I would ask my parents, because I was an inquisitive kid, and of course they would give me answers to shield me from the truth or water it down. Then when we moved out to the suburbs, I always acted out and would be running to Newark and Irvington and other bad parts of Essex and Union County to buy petty drugs, buy cigarettes even. But you basically get to find out what led up to Brody Curtis being the way he was around that time frame. And Curtis corruption is essentially something that happened to my father, but I gave him a mens rea, a criminal state of mind. And when I was in the 7th grade, my father, who had been consulting on his own because he had been let go by a big-name bank that moved us to the suburbs, was questioned by the FBI. And the thing is, he had actually been hustled for his expertise. He wasn't formally a member of any conspiracy, but men whom he advised to traffic cocaine. So what I did in the 3rd book was I used my imagination to see what would a suburbanite man do if he was actually knowingly in charge of something like that. And I incorporated similar life experiences to what I was having, and I tried my best to integrate the stress of living in the suburbs with maintaining an operation like this. And it was fun writing, I gotta say.
Well, if it isn't fun, why do it, right? Writing can also be painstaking, but once you break through the writer's block or whatever prevents you from finishing a story, then it's fun. Realizing you're a published author, extremely fun, not to mention rewarding. And I'm thinking everyone is going to have a story about this coronavirus pandemic. What's yours? Write it down. That's a wrap for this edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Catch you next time.